The great hall of the Villani Palace was filled with 1,000 guests. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting soft blue light across the marble floors. Flowers from 100 different planets decorated the walls. Music played softly in the background. It was the most beautiful wedding the Empire had ever seen. But Princess Nira felt no joy. She stood at the altar in her silver wedding gown, her tall, elegant form perfect and still. Her skin glowed with the soft silver shine of her people. Her eyes, large and violet, looked straight ahead. She did not look at the man standing beside her. The man was human. His name was Tae Woo. He was shorter than her by almost a head. His skin was a warm brown color, plain and dull compared to hers. His black hair was neatly combed, and he wore a simple dark suit. He stood quietly with his hands folded in front of him, a gentle smile on his face. Nira hated that smile. She hated everything about this day. She was the third princess of the Villani Empire, daughter of Emperor Kalos, ruler of 40 star systems. She had been raised to marry a prince, a warrior, a leader. Instead, she was being given to this human. The priest spoke the ancient words of binding. Nira repeated them without feeling. When it was Tae Woo's turn, he spoke softly and clearly. His accent was strange, but his pronunciation was correct. Someone had taught him well. It did not matter. He was still just a human. The marriage was not her choice. It was politics. Earth had joined the galactic community 50 years ago, and humans had spread across the stars quickly. Too quickly. The older empires were worried. War seemed possible. So Emperor Kalos had made a deal. Peace between the Villani Empire and Earth, trade agreements, military cooperation, and to seal the agreement, a marriage between the royal family and a human representative. Nira had begged her father to choose one of her sisters instead, but her older sisters were already married to powerful allies, and her younger sister was too young. Only Nira was available. Her father had promised her it would not be so bad. The human would be quiet and obedient. He would stay out of her way. The marriage was just for show. Looking at Tae Woo now, Nira believed it. He looked like nothing special. His file said he was 32 years old. He had worked as an aide to a human diplomat. No military service, no special skills, no family connections. He was nobody. The priest finished the ceremony. The crowd applauded politely. Tae Woo turned to Nira and bowed his head respectfully. "Thank you for accepting me, princess," he said. His voice was soft and calm. "I will do my best to be a good husband." Nira did not respond. She turned and walked down the aisle toward the reception hall. After a moment, Tae Woo followed her, staying 3 steps behind. The reception lasted for hours. Nobles from across the empire came to offer their congratulations. Most of them barely looked at Tae Woo. A few looked at him with curiosity like he was an animal in a zoo. Some laughed quietly behind their hands. "The princess and her pet human," one lord whispered to another. "How tragic," a lady replied. "Such a waste of royal blood." Nira heard them all. Her telepathic abilities let her sense the thoughts and emotions of everyone around her. She felt their pity, their amusement, their contempt. But when she tried to sense Tae Woo's mind, she found nothing. Just silence. Emptiness. This was common with humans. Their minds were closed to Villani telepaths. Scientists said it was because human brains were too simple, too primitive. They lacked the neural connections needed for telepathic communication. Nira believed this. Looking at Tae Woo's calm, empty smile, she was certain there was nothing complex happening in his head. Throughout the reception, Tae Woo stayed near her but never spoke unless spoken to. He ate little. He drank nothing. He smiled politely at everyone who approached and answered their questions with short, simple responses. "Do you like our food?" a noble asked him. "Yes, it is very good. Thank you," Tae Woo replied. "Is this your first time leaving Earth?" No, I have traveled before, but your world is the most beautiful I have seen. Simple answers. Boring answers. Nira felt relieved. At least he would not embarrass her with stupidity. When the reception finally ended, servants led them to the royal quarters. Nira stopped at the door to her chambers and turned to face Tae-woo. "Your rooms are in the east wing," she said coldly. "Separate from mine. You will have your own servants. You may come and go as you please, but you will not enter my chambers without permission." Tae-woo nodded. "I understand, Princess. This marriage is political, nothing more. I expect nothing from you except your cooperation at official events. Do not cause problems. Do not draw attention. Do not embarrass me. I will do as you wish." Nira studied his face. His expression was calm, maybe even kind. There was no anger, no hurt, no pride in his eyes. He accepted her harsh words like water flowing over stone. "Good," she said. "Then we understand each other." She turned and entered her chambers without another word. The door closed behind her. Tae-woo stood alone in the hallway for a long moment. His gentle smile faded slowly. His eyes, which had seemed soft and empty all day, grew sharper, harder. He walked to the east wing in silence. His servants greeted him nervously at the door, but he waved them away. He wanted to be alone. His quarters were large and beautiful, filled with expensive furniture and artwork. A balcony overlooked the palace gardens, and beyond them, the glittering capital city. 2 moons hung in the purple sky. Tae-woo stepped onto the balcony and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of kilometers away, was Earth, his home, his people. He thought about the mission he had been given. 3 years of preparation, false records, a fake identity, training in Villani culture, language, and customs, all leading to this moment. The Villani thought humans were simple, primitive, weak. They were wrong. Tae-woo reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. He pressed a button, and a tiny light blinked green. The signal would reach Earth in a few hours. His handlers would know he was in position. He put the device away and looked back at the stars. 3 years of watching, he whispered to himself. Now I am inside. His mission was simple. Protect Earth's interests, gather information, and if necessary, protect the princess herself, whether she wanted his protection or not. The Villani had asked Earth to send someone unimportant for this marriage, someone who would not cause trouble, someone forgettable. Earth had sent exactly what they asked for. On the surface. Tae-woo smiled, but it was not the gentle smile he had worn all day. This smile was cold, sharp, dangerous. He was going to enjoy proving them all wrong. 6 months passed, like slow water. Princess Nira settled into her new life with surprising ease. The human husband she had dreaded turned out to be almost invisible. Tae-woo did exactly what she asked. He stayed quiet. He stayed out of her way. He appeared at official events, stood in the background, and never caused problems. The court had given him a nickname. They called him the Shadow. It was meant as an insult. A shadow had no substance, no importance. It simply followed its owner and disappeared when the light changed. But Tae-woo never seemed bothered by the name. He accepted it with the same calm smile he wore every day. Nira almost forgot he existed sometimes. Almost. The first strange thing happened at a state dinner 3 months into their marriage. Important representatives from the Korath Federation had come to negotiate a trade agreement. The talks had been difficult. The Korath were famous for their stubbornness, and the lead negotiator, a large creature with 4 arms and gray skin, refused to agree to any of the Villani terms. Nira sat at the head table with her father, watching the negotiations slowly fall apart. The Korath negotiator spoke with confidence. But something seemed wrong. Tae-woo was standing behind her chair as always. He leaned forward slightly and whispered in her ear. "He is bluffing. Watch his upper left hand. It shakes when he lies. His people need this deal more than he admits. Nira frowned. She had not asked for his opinion. She almost told him to be quiet, but she watched the Korath's hand anyway. The next time the negotiator refused a term, his upper left hand trembled slightly. Nira tested it. She made a new offer, slightly better than before. The Korath refused, but his hand shook again. She pushed harder. He continued to refuse, but his body language grew more nervous. In the end, they reached an agreement that favored the Vallani Empire by a significant margin. The Korath negotiator left looking frustrated and confused. Emperor Kalos praised his daughter's negotiating skills. The court applauded her wisdom. No one thanked Taewoo. No one even noticed his contribution. That night, Nira thought about what had happened. How had Taewoo known? He had never met a Korath before. Their body language was completely different from humans. Yet he had read the negotiator perfectly. She decided it was luck. A good guess, nothing more. The second strange thing happened a month later. A visiting dignitary from a distant star system had come to the palace. Security was tight, but not tight enough. During a formal reception, 3 assassins, disguised as servants, tried to kill the dignitary. Nira was standing near the dignitary when it happened. She never saw the attack coming, but 3 seconds before the assassins drew their weapons, Taewoo appeared at her side. He took her arm gently and said, "Princess, the Emperor wishes to speak with you. Please come with me." He led her across the room, away from the dignitary. 3 seconds later, the assassins attacked. Guards rushed forward. Chaos erupted, but Nira was safe on the other side of the hall. Later, when the excitement died down, she found Taewoo and demanded an explanation. "How did you know?" she asked. Taewoo shrugged. "I did not know anything, Princess. I simply had a feeling that you should move. Instinct, perhaps." Instinct does not work like that. "Human instinct is strange," he said with his usual calm smile. "We cannot explain it ourselves sometimes." Nira did not believe him, but she could not prove he was lying. The third discovery came from her handmaiden, a young human woman named Sumi. Sumi had been assigned to serve the princess as part of the marriage agreement. She was cheerful and hard-working, and over the months, Nira had grown fond of her. Unlike most humans Nira had met, Sumi was not afraid to speak her mind. One morning, while Sumi was brushing Nira's hair, she mentioned something interesting. "Your husband stays up very late, Princess." Nira raised an eyebrow. "How do you know this?" "The night servants talk. They say he reads until dawn almost every night. Books, reports, documents. He has requested access to the palace library." "What does he read?" Sumi thought for a moment. "Military history, they say. Economics. Vallani law. Political records from the past 100 years. Nira turned to look at her handmaiden. "Military history? He has no military background." "That is what his file says, Princess. But the servants say he reads like a soldier preparing for war." That evening, Nira did something she had never done before. She visited Taewoo's quarters. He was sitting at a desk covered with books and data tablets when she entered. He stood immediately and bowed. "Princess, this is an unexpected honor." Nira looked around the room. Books were everywhere. She recognized titles on Vallani military tactics, imperial law, alien diplomacy, and economic theory. A map of the empire hung on one wall, covered with handwritten notes. "What is all this?" she asked. "Research," Taewoo said simply. "I want to understand your culture better. I thought it would help me be a better husband." "You read military history to be a better husband?" "Understanding how a civilization fights teaches you how it thinks." "Your people value precision and planning. You prefer to win through superior preparation rather than brute force. These are good qualities in a husband to remember." He smiled. "I do not want to disappoint you." Nira studied him carefully. His smile was the same as always, calm, gentle, empty. But now she was not sure the emptiness was real. "I also noticed," she said slowly, "that you speak perfect Valani, and at least 4 other alien languages. Your file said you only spoke basic galactic standard." "Files can be incomplete," Taewoo said. "I have always enjoyed learning languages. It is a hobby." "A hobby that you hid from the official records?" "I did not hide it. No one asked." Nira stepped closer to him. She was taller, but somehow he did not seem small. He met her eyes without fear. "Who are you really?" she asked. Taewoo's smile did not change. "I am Taewoo, a simple man from Earth, your husband, nothing more. I do not believe you. That is your choice, princess. But I have never lied to you. I have never acted against you. I have only tried to serve you well." They stood in silence for a long moment. Nira searched his face for any sign of deception, any crack in his mask. She found nothing. Finally, she turned and walked toward the door. She stopped at the threshold. "I am watching you," she said without looking back. "I would expect nothing less," Taewoo replied. Nira returned to her chambers with a strange feeling in her chest. It was not fear. It was not anger. It was curiosity. For the first time, she wanted to know more about her husband. She wanted to understand what was hiding behind that calm smile. And somewhere, deep in a place she did not want to admit, she felt something else. Respect. He had been in her palace for 6 months, surrounded by people who mocked him and dismissed him. Yet he had quietly learned everything about her civilization. He had studied her people like a general studying an enemy. He had prepared himself for something. But what? Nira did not know, but she was determined to find out. That night she lay awake in her bed, thinking about the quiet human who had become her husband. She had called him simple. She was beginning to think she had made a terrible mistake. The attack came without warning. Nira was in her study reviewing trade reports when the first explosion shook the palace. The lights flickered. Alarms began to scream. Through her window, she saw smoke rising from the eastern towers. She reached for her communication device, but it was dead. All channels were silent. Something was very wrong. Her door burst open. She expected palace guards. Instead, she saw Taewoo. His calm smile was gone. His eyes were sharp and focused. "We need to move. Now," he said. "What is happening?" "A coup. General Draven has turned against the Emperor. His soldiers have taken the main gates and the communication center. We have maybe 10 minutes before they reach this wing." Nira felt cold fear wash through her. General Draven was one of her father's most trusted commanders. He controlled a large portion of the Imperial fleet. If he had betrayed the throne, the situation was desperate. "My father," she said. "Where is my father?" "Captured. Draven's soldiers took the throne room first. The Emperor is alive, but he is a hostage." "How do you know all this?" Taewoo grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the door. "I will explain later. Right now, we need to survive." They ran through the palace corridors. Taewoo led the way, moving with a speed and certainty that surprised Nira. He seemed to know exactly where to go, which hallways to avoid, which doors were safe. They found Sumi hiding in a storage room, terrified. Taewoo calmed her with a few quiet words and added her to their group. 3 palace guards joined them as they fled. Young soldiers, barely trained, but loyal to the crown. Taewoo took command without asking permission. The guards followed his orders without question. They reached the eastern wing and barricaded themselves inside. The wing was old and rarely used, with thick walls and narrow corridors. It would be difficult to attack. "We are safe here," one of the guards said hopefully. "We are trapped here," Tae-woo corrected. Safe and trapped are not the same thing. Nira looked around. 6 people. 3 guards with light weapons. No communication with the outside. No way to call for help. What do we do? She asked. Tae-woo was already examining the windows, the doors, the layout of the rooms. His mind was clearly working on something. First, we need information. How many soldiers does Draven have inside the palace? What are his goals? What is his timeline? His goal is obvious, Nira said bitterly. He wants the throne. Then he needs you dead. Tae-woo looked at her directly. You and your father are the only legitimate heirs. Your sisters are far away. If Draven kills you both, he can claim the throne by force. So we surrender. Negotiate. Offer him something. Tae-woo shook his head. No. Why not? Because there is nothing you can offer him. You are a threat to his power simply by existing. The moment you surrender, you die. Maybe not immediately, maybe after a public trial, a false confession, a staged execution, but you will die. The words hit Nira like ice. She had grown up in politics, but she had never faced real danger before. She had never imagined that someone would actually want to kill her. Then what do you suggest? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. We cannot fight an army with 3 guards. Tae-woo was quiet for a moment. Then he did something strange. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. He pressed several buttons and spoke into it. This is Tae-woo. Ghost protocol active. Position compromised. Princess secured in Eastern Wing. Requesting immediate support. Static crackled. Then a voice replied. Confirmed, Tae-woo. Reinforcements launching now. 3 hours to arrival. Keep the princess alive. Nira stared at him. What was that? Who were you talking to? Commander Hyunsik, Tae-woo said calmly. An old friend. He commands a special operations team. They were stationed nearby in case something like this happened. Stationed nearby? By whom? Tae-woo put the device away and turned to face her. For the first time since their wedding day, she saw him without his mask. His gentle smile was gone. His soft eyes had become hard and cold. By Earth, he said, and by your father. Nira felt the world shift under her feet. My father? Your father is not a fool, princess. He knew there were factions in his court that opposed the human alliance. He knew that a political marriage could make you a target. So he asked Earth to send someone who could protect you. But your file said you were nobody, a diplomat's aide with no special skills. That file was fake, created specifically for this mission. Tae-woo took a step toward her. My real name is still Tae-woo, but I was never a diplomat's aide. I am a former member of Earth's Phantom Division, Black Operations, the kind of missions that never appear in any record. Black Operations. I have ended 2 interstellar conflicts before I turned 30, not through diplomacy, through other means, quiet means, effective means. He paused. Earth did not send you a pet human, princess. They sent you a weapon. Nira's mind was racing. Everything she thought she knew about her husband was wrong. The simple man, the quiet shadow, the forgettable nobody. All lies. Why did you not tell me? She asked. Would you have believed me? Would you have trusted me? She thought about the last 6 months. How she had ignored him, dismissed him, treated him like furniture. No, she admitted. I would not have believed you. So I waited. I watched. I prepared. And now, when you need me most, I am ready. One of the guards spoke nervously. Sir, I can hear soldiers in the main corridor. They are searching room by room. Tae-woo nodded. Then we need to slow them down. Give my team time to arrive. How? Nira asked. Tae-woo looked around the room, studying every object, every angle, every shadow. A strange light came into his eyes. It was not fear. It was not worry. It was excitement. Draven's soldiers are trained to fight Volani opponents, Taewoo said. They expect telepathy, energy weapons, and organized formations. They are not prepared for human tactics. Human tactics? We do not fight fair, Princess. Taewoo smiled. This time the smile was cold and sharp. We fight dirty. We cheat. We improvise. We adapt. Your people evolved through cooperation and telepathy. My people evolved through hunting, hiding, and survival. Give a human a dark room and an enemy who does not know he is there, and the human will win every time. He turned to the guards. You three, I need you to follow my orders exactly. No hesitation. No questions. Can you do that? The guards exchanged glances. Then the oldest one stepped forward and saluted. Yes, sir. Taewoo began giving instructions. Move this furniture here. Block that door. Create a choke point in this corridor. Set a trap there. Use the darkness as cover. Nira watched him transform. This was not the quiet shadow she had lived with for 6 months. This was a commander, a warrior, a predator preparing his hunting ground. And despite everything, despite the fear and the chaos and the danger, she felt something unexpected. She felt safe. This man, this human she had dismissed as simple and empty, was going to protect her. She was certain of it now. Whatever happened in the next 3 hours, Taewoo would not let her die. Princess, Taewoo said, interrupting her thoughts. I need you to stay close to me, do exactly what I say, and trust me. Nira looked into his eyes. Hard eyes, dangerous eyes, but also honest eyes. I trust you, she said, and she meant it. The first group of soldiers came down the corridor expecting easy prey. They found something else entirely. Taewoo had turned off all the lights in the eastern wing. The emergency power was disabled. The windows were covered. Total darkness filled every room and hallway. Volani soldiers were not used to fighting in the dark. Their eyes needed light to function properly. More importantly, they relied on their telepathic abilities to sense enemies. But humans could not be sensed telepathically. To the soldiers, Taewoo was invisible in every way. The first soldier entered a dark room and stepped on a loose tile. The tile triggered a heavy cabinet to fall, blocking the doorway behind him. Before he could react, something hit him in the back of the head. He fell unconscious without seeing his attacker. The second and third soldiers heard the noise and rushed to help. They ran into a wire stretched across the corridor at knee height. They fell. By the time they recovered, their weapons were gone. Taewoo had taken them in less than 10 seconds. Nira watched through a crack in a hidden doorway. She could barely believe what she was seeing. Taewoo moved like smoke through the shadows. He made no sound. He left no trace. One moment he was beside her, the next he was behind an enemy soldier, striking fast and disappearing again. He did not kill anyone. Every soldier was knocked unconscious, disarmed, and tied up. Precision, control, efficiency. Why do you not kill them? Nira whispered when Taewoo returned to her hiding spot. They are soldiers following orders, Taewoo replied quietly. When Draven falls, they will need to serve the Empire again. Dead soldiers cannot serve anyone. She had not expected mercy from a man who moved like an assassin. More soldiers came. Taewoo set more traps. The narrow corridors of the eastern wing became a maze of danger. Every doorway hid a surprise. Every shadow concealed a threat. The Volani soldiers grew afraid. They had come expecting to capture one weak princess and her useless human husband. Instead, they were being hunted by something they could not see, could not sense, could not understand. Nira heard them talking on their communication devices, their voices filled with panic. There is something in the dark. I cannot sense any minds. It is like fighting a ghost. We have lost 12 soldiers already. We need more support. But Draven was busy with other problems. His forces were spread thin across the palace. He could not spare more soldiers for one wing that held only a princess and a human. That was his mistake. 2 hours passed. The enemy soldiers became more careful, more organized. They brought portable lights. They moved in larger groups. Slowly, they began to push through the eastern wing. Taewoo gathered his small team in a central room. "We cannot hold them forever," one of the guards said. "There are too many." "We do not need forever," Taewoo replied. "We need 1 more hour." "They will reach us in 30 minutes. Taewoo nodded. He looked at Nira, then at Sumi, then at the 3 guards. "Then I will buy you that hour. Stay here. Protect the princess. Do not open this door for anyone except me." "What are you going to do?" Nira asked. "Slow them down." He picked up a metal rod from the floor. It was not a proper weapon, but in his hands it looked deadly. "There is a large group coming from the main corridor, 15 soldiers at least. I will handle them." "Alone? Against 15? Taewoo smiled. It was not his gentle smile or his cold smile. This smile was something new, confident, almost playful. "Princess, I once held a position against 40 enemy combatants for 6 hours, with nothing but a broken rifle and a bad attitude. 15 soldiers in a dark corridor is almost relaxing." Before she could respond, he was gone, slipping into the shadows like he was made of darkness itself. Nira moved to a security terminal that still had power. She managed to access the corridor cameras. The images were grainy in the low light, but she could see enough. Taewoo stood alone in the main corridor. 15 Vellani soldiers approached from the far end, weapons ready, lights blazing. He did not hide. He did not run. He simply stood there, waiting. The soldiers saw him and stopped. They were confused. Why was this human standing in the open? Was it a trap? It was. Taewoo moved. Nira had seen Vellani warriors train. She had watched elite soldiers demonstrate their skills. She had thought she understood what combat looked like. She was wrong. Taewoo was faster than any Vellani she had ever seen. Not because he was physically superior. Vellani were naturally faster and stronger than humans. But Taewoo moved with a different kind of speed. He knew where every attack would come before it happened. He understood the patterns of Vellani combat and exploited their weaknesses. The Vellani fought with precision. They aimed for center mass. They followed proper technique. They coordinated their movements. Taewoo was chaos. He ducked under the first soldier's swing, stepped inside his guard, and struck 3 pressure points in rapid succession. The soldier collapsed. Taewoo was already moving to the next target, grabbing the fallen soldier's weapon and using it to deflect an energy blast. He threw the weapon at the 3rd soldier, distracting him long enough to close the distance and deliver a knockout blow. 4 soldiers down in 8 seconds. The remaining soldiers panicked. They fired wildly, their shots hitting walls and ceiling and each other. Taewoo was never where they aimed. He seemed to know where every shot would go before the trigger was pulled. He used the soldiers against each other. He pushed one into another's line of fire. He grabbed a soldier and spun him into 3 of his companions. He turned their coordination into confusion. One soldier managed to land a hit on Taewoo's shoulder. He did not even slow down. He took the soldier's weapon, disabled it with a quick twist, and used the soldier's own momentum to throw him into the wall. In less than 2 minutes, all 15 soldiers were down. Not one was dead. Every single one was disabled but alive. Taewoo stood in the middle of the corridor, breathing hard but steady. His shoulder was bleeding. He ignored it. Nira realized she had stopped breathing. She forced herself to inhale. "What is he?" Sumi whispered beside her. Nira did not have an answer. Taewoo returned to their hiding room. His jacket was torn. His shoulder wound was still bleeding. But his eyes were calm. "We have about 40 minutes," he said. "No more soldiers will come. They are too afraid." Nira stepped forward and examined his wound. "You are hurt." "It is nothing. Let me help." She took a medical kit from one of the guards and began treating his shoulder. Her hands were gentle, careful. She had never touched him like this before. "You were amazing," she said quietly. "I have never seen anyone fight like that. Humans are good at fighting. It is our longest tradition." Tae-woo winced slightly as she cleaned the wound. "We spent thousands of years fighting each other before we reached the stars. We got very good at it." "Your people evolved through violence?" "Through survival. Violence was just a tool." He looked at her. "Your people evolved through cooperation and telepathy. You work together, share thoughts, build consensus. Beautiful things. But when someone threatens you, you hesitate. You look for peaceful solutions. You try to understand your enemy. And humans do not. Humans understand that some enemies cannot be reasoned with. Some threats can only be stopped with force. We learned this lesson in blood over and over until it became part of our nature." He paused. "It is not a nice part of ourselves, but it is useful." Nira finished bandaging his shoulder. She did not remove her hand immediately. "You could have killed them all," she said. "It would have been easier." "Yes, but you chose not to. Violence is a tool, Princess. A good craftsman does not use more force than necessary." He covered her hand with his. "Besides, your people are not my enemies. These soldiers were just following orders from a bad leader. When Draven falls, they will need a chance to redeem themselves." Nira felt warmth spread through her chest. This man, this warrior who had just defeated 15 soldiers alone, still believed in mercy. Still believed in giving people second chances. She had thought humans were primitive, simple, violent animals who had stumbled into space by accident. She had been completely wrong. "Tae-woo," she said softly. "Yes? I am sorry. For how I treated you. For what I thought about you." He smiled. His real smile, not the mask he had worn for months. It transformed his face, made him look younger, gentler. "You had no reason to think differently. I made sure of that." He squeezed her hand. "But I am glad you see me now. The real me." "I see you," she said. "And I am grateful you are here." They sat together in the darkness, waiting for rescue, and for the first time since their wedding day, Nira felt like she was not alone. The rescue team arrived exactly on time. Commander Hyunsik led them personally. He was a tall, broad human with gray hair and sharp eyes. Behind him came 30 soldiers in black armor, a mix of humans and Vellani who had remained loyal to the Emperor. Tae-woo greeted his old friend with a firm handshake. "You look terrible," Hyunsik said, looking at the blood on Tae-woo's clothes. "You should see the other soldiers." Hyunsik laughed. It was the laugh of men who had survived many battles together. "I heard the reports on the way in. 43 enemy soldiers disabled. 0 killed. You are getting soft in your old age." "I am trying to be civilized." "The princess is watching." Nira stepped forward. The rescue soldiers immediately bowed to her, but she waved them up. "Where is my father?" she asked. "Still in the throne room," Hyunsik replied. "Draven has him surrounded by his personal guard, about 50 soldiers. They know we are coming, so they are prepared." "Then we attack now," Nira said, "before they can hurt him." "That would be unwise, Princess. A direct assault would get the Emperor killed. Draven is using him as a shield." Tae-woo was studying a map of the palace that Hyunsik had brought. His eyes traced the corridors, the entrances, the defensive positions. "There is another way," he said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. "The throne room has 17 entrances. 16 of them are guarded, but there is a maintenance tunnel that runs beneath the floor. It was built centuries ago for servants to deliver food without being seen." "How do you know about this tunnel?" Hyunsik asked. "I read a lot." Tae-woo traced a line on the map. The tunnel comes up behind the throne. If someone could get inside while the main force attacks the front, they could reach the Emperor and extract him before Draven realizes what is happening. Someone? Nira looked at him sharply. You mean you? I am the best choice. One person is harder to detect than a team, and I know how to move without being noticed. You are wounded. I have fought with worse. Nira grabbed his arm. No, you have done enough. Let someone else take this risk. Taewoo looked at her with soft eyes. Princess, your father trusted me to protect you, but he also trusted me to protect the throne. If Draven kills the Emperor, everything falls apart. The Empire collapses into civil war, Earth loses its ally, millions could die. And if you die in that tunnel? He covered her hand with his. Then I die doing what I was sent here to do. It would be a good death. I do not want you to die at all. Her voice cracked slightly. I just found out who you really are. I do not want to lose you now. Taewoo was silent for a moment. Then he leaned forward and did something he had never done before. He pressed his lips gently to her forehead. I am not going to die, he said. I am going to end this. And then I am going to come back to you. I promise. Nira wanted to argue. She wanted to demand that he stay, but she saw the determination in his eyes. She understood that this was who he was. A protector, a soldier. A man who walked into darkness so others could live in light. Then I am coming with you, she said. Absolutely not. I am the princess. Draven will hesitate if he sees me, and my father will trust me more than a stranger appearing behind him. She lifted her chin. I am not asking permission. I am informing you. Taewoo stared at her. For a moment she thought he would refuse. Then a small smile crossed his face. You are more stubborn than I expected. I learned it from watching you. Hyunsik interrupted. If you two are finished being romantic, we have a coup to stop. The plan was simple. Hyunsik's forces would attack the main entrance of the throne room, drawing Draven's attention. Meanwhile, Taewoo and Nira would use the maintenance tunnel to reach the Emperor. Once they had him, they would signal for extraction. Simple plans were best. Fewer things could go wrong. The tunnel was dark and narrow. Taewoo led the way, moving carefully, checking for traps and alarms. Nira followed close behind, trusting him completely. They reached the exit point beneath the throne room. Above them, they could hear voices. Draven was speaking loudly, confidently. The old Emperor is finished. His alliance with humans has weakened us, made us look foolish. Today, we begin a new era, an era of Vallani strength. Taewoo found the hidden panel and opened it silently. They emerged behind the great throne, hidden by shadows and curtains. The room was full of soldiers. Emperor Kalos was kneeling on the floor near the throne, his hands bound, his face bruised, but proud. Draven stood before him, holding a ceremonial blade. Any last words? Your Majesty? Draven asked mockingly. Yes, the Emperor said calmly. You have made a terrible mistake. What mistake? You forgot about the human. Draven laughed. The human? That shadow your daughter married? He is probably dead by now. My soldiers... Your soldiers are unconscious in the eastern wing, Taewoo said, stepping out of the shadows. Every soldier in the room spun toward him. Weapons were raised, commands were shouted, but Taewoo was faster. He moved like lightning across the throne room. Before anyone could fire, he was among them, using their own bodies as shields, turning their coordination into chaos. Soldiers fell around him like leaves in a storm. Nira ran for her father. Two guards moved to stop her, but Taewoo appeared between them, striking with precision that left both men unconscious in seconds. Get him free, Taewoo said. I will handle the rest. Nira cut her father's bonds with a knife from a fallen guard. The Emperor stood slowly, pain in his movements, but fire in his eyes. I knew you would come, he said to Taewoo. I made a promise to protect your daughter. That includes protecting her family. Draven finally recovered from his shock. He raised his ceremonial blade and charged at Taewoo with a scream of rage. What happened next took exactly 4 seconds. Taewoo sidestepped the first swing, caught Draven's arm, twisted it in a direction arms were not meant to bend, took the blade from his nerveless fingers, and pressed the point against Draven's throat. The general froze. "Yield," Taewoo said quietly. "Your coup has failed. Your soldiers have surrendered. You have nothing left." "You are just a human," Draven spat. "A primitive, an animal." "Yes," Taewoo agreed, "and this primitive just defeated your entire army without killing a single person. Imagine what I could do if I was actually trying." He pressed the blade slightly harder. A thin line of silver blood appeared on Draven's neck. "Yield," Taewoo repeated. Draven's eyes were filled with hatred, but he was also afraid. For the first time in his life, he had met something he could not defeat. "I yield," he whispered. The battle was over. The next few hours were chaos of a different kind. Loyal soldiers secured the palace. Traitors were arrested. Medical teams treated the wounded. The Emperor was examined by doctors and declared healthy despite his injuries. Through it all, Nira stayed close to Taewoo. She refused to let him out of her sight. When things finally calmed, Emperor Kalos called a public assembly. The nobles of the court gathered, many of them looking embarrassed. They had all mocked the human princess's husband. They had all called him a shadow, a pet, a nobody. The emperor stood before his throne and spoke. "Today, our empire was saved by many brave soldiers, but none were braver than one man, a human, my daughter's husband, Taewoo." He gestured for Taewoo to step forward. Reluctantly, Taewoo obeyed. "This man single-handedly protected your princess. He defeated over 40 trained soldiers without taking a life. He infiltrated the throne room and ended the coup." The emperor's voice rang through the hall. "And he did this while you mocked him, while you dismissed him, while you called him simple." The nobles shifted uncomfortably. "Let this be a lesson to all of you. Never judge another being by appearance alone. Never underestimate an enemy because they seem weak. The humans have a saying, 'Still waters run deep.' This man is proof of that truth." Taewoo bowed respectfully. "I only did my duty, Your Majesty." "Your duty was to stand beside my daughter. You went far beyond that." The emperor smiled. "I am proud to call you my son." The assembly applauded. This time the applause was genuine. Later that evening, Nira and Taewoo walked together in the palace gardens. The 2 moons hung low in the purple sky. Flowers glowed softly in the darkness. "So," Nira said, "what happens now?" "What do you mean?" "Your mission is complete. You protected me. You saved the Emperor. You proved what humanity can do." She stopped walking and turned to face him. "Will you go back to Earth?" Taewoo looked at her. In the moonlight, she was beautiful. More beautiful than any star he had ever seen. "Do you want me to go?" he asked. "No." Her voice was soft but certain. "I want you to stay." "Then I will stay." "But your mission—" "My mission was to protect you. That has not changed." He took her hands in his. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being just a mission. It became something I wanted to do. Not because Earth asked me. Not because your father needed me. Because I care about you. Nira felt tears forming in her eyes. Happy tears. "I treated you so badly," she said. "For 6 months, I ignored you, dismissed you, treated you like you were nothing. You treated me the way you were taught to treat humans. That was not your fault." He squeezed her hands. "What matters is what happens next." "And what happens next?" Taewoo smiled. His real smile, warm and gentle and true. "I think we should start this marriage over." Properly this time. No politics, no pretending, just two people trying to understand each other. Nira laughed. It was a surprised, joyful sound. "I would like that," she said. "Good." He offered her his arm. "Then shall we walk together, Princess? As husband and wife?" She took his arm and leaned into his shoulder. "Yes," she said. "I think we shall." They walked together through the garden, under the light of two moons, at the beginning of something new. Nira had thought she was marrying a simple man. She had been wrong about many things. But she was glad, because the man beside her was far better than simple. He was exactly what she needed. And for the first time since her wedding day, she was truly happy.